It is a huge, huge honor for me today to podcast interview the most handsome man in all of dentistry, Jerry Jones. How are you doing, Jerry?
I'm fantastic, Howard. It's good to see you. Good to hear from you. Good to talk to you.
My God, you're out there in Salem, Oregon. You're probably the number one marketing guru of dentistry going all the way back into the day. I met you, I think, the first time I ever went to the Profitable Dentist seminar in Destin, Florida, which must have been about 200 or 300 years ago.
Close. Yeah. Right in that range. Yeah.
And I can't believe I'm 10 years older than you. I was a baby when I lectured at that thing, and you're 10 years younger than me. You must have been like 12 years old when I first met you.
Pretty close.
Yeah, well, let me read your bio. Jerry A. Jones is the CEO of Jerry Jones Direct, an over 2-decade-old marketing and advertising firm whose clients include everyone, dentists and financial service advisors in the U.S., Canada, Australia, England. He is a widely published author of several books and thought leader, writing opinion papers and articles for a variety of publications. Jerry also writes and publishes 3 different newsletters and magazines every month, leads dental mastermind sessions, and creates marketing and advertising campaigns for his private client, financial advisors, dentists, and ClearPath Society members. He is also the founder and CEO of Wellness Springs Dental in Salem, Oregon, which includes an incredible group of 3 doctors and an amazing team. Wellness Springs Dental is a national dental office franchisor. What does that mean, is a national dental office franchisor?
Howard, this is exciting. We just are cranking this up. We are now offering franchises in about 26 states. So essentially, a doctor that does not have an office and wants to open one, he can become a franchisee, just like your father did with Sonic back so many years ago. They can become a franchisee with their existing practice, so it can be converted over to a Wellness Springs Dental. They, of course, maintain all their ownership and keep their equity and all that good stuff. But it's a franchise, so it operates just like any franchise would. There's a franchise fee, there's a royalty fee, and we deliver a huge amount of training and support. So it's kind of like support on steroids for a dental practice owner.
And what's that website? WellnessSpringsDental.com.
That's it.
Now, what do you mean a dental office franchise? So you open up your own dental office and then you do the marketing for it, or am I missing? Tell me more.
Yeah. Well, so I'll give you an example. So let's say you own a hamburger stand, and it's Howard's Hamburgers, and you realize that, I love that cat. What's the cat's name?
That is Tigger, and I got 2 cats, and the most stressful thing in their life is when I stare at the computer monitor doing a podcast, and they want to know why I'm not looking at them, so they always jump right up on my desk the whole time and stare at me back.
I got it. I love it.
By the way, if you know anyone who wants to adopt 2 cats, they can just email me, howard@dentaltown.com, because all they do is knock everything over. But anyway, so
that's great.
Wellness. So it's wellnessspringsdental.com.
Correct.
But then it corrects to wsdfranchise.com.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Same site gets you to the same, or same link gets you to the same site.
Okay.
So basically, what it is, let's say you had a hamburger stand and you realize that McDonald's is really the ultimate hamburger business. They really know what they're doing, and you decide you want to convert Howard's Hamburger Stand over to a McDonald's franchise. So you know the hamburger business, but maybe you lack some systems, you lack some marketing, you lack support. There's nobody there to hold your hand when you're ready to open Howard's Hamburger Stand number 2. So you decide that you want to become a franchisee of McDonald's, and you go through their training. You convert Howard's Hamburger Stand over to a McDonald's franchise. So the ownership stays in your name. It's all you. You own the business 100%. But now you've got training and support for every facet of the hamburger business, from marketing, management, leadership, staff development, ongoing training. When you're ready to open location number 10 or 12 or 6 or 2, it's a phone call to start the process. And your franchise, the company you franchise with, supports that opening process. So it's really, it works just like a franchise in any industry, except we're applying it to dental.
So it is it legally a franchise?
Absolutely.
And you're legal in how many states?
We're officially registered in 26. We just added Texas and Florida, and we have a couple more states coming on here very shortly.
God, what were your legal fees in setting up a franchise in America? That's an enormous undertaking, isn't it?
Well, I kind of really got an interesting break on that, if you will, not in price, but an interesting break. So one of my partners his name is Chris Tomchak, and Chris is a chiropractor. He has 350 franchised chiropractic offices in the United States. It's called Health Source Chiropractic. So Chris has already done this in chiropractic. So I brought Chris on to give me a hand and help me out in dentistry. So we're doing the same thing he's done in chiropractic in dentistry. And I've got a couple of other phenomenal partners that I brought on board too. One's a dentist, Sean Tarpenning up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Another one's a longtime business partner of mine here in Salem. So I mean, it's a fun. I think it's going to take dentistry by storm, Howard. I mean, I really think this is like the solution that a lot of solo practice GPs are looking for. A lot of small groups that are looking to grow, but they just don't know what to do or how to do it. It's going to be really phenomenal. So we've got some great experience.
So is it called? Is the website healthsourcechiro.com?
You got it.
And then who's your dentist in this? It's a marketer, a chiropractor. Who's the dentist?
So Sean Tarpenning up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. You've met Sean a few times over the years. Heck of a good guy. He's got a 22 op office. They do multiple millions a year. He's got a phenomenal staff, 30 some employees, and I mean they are really rocking and rolling up in Eau Claire.
So what do you've been in this industry for 2 decades. So I want to start off with you as what is your 2 decade?
This is what happens after 2 decades, Howard. You and I have the same disease.
Oh my God, it's so nice. People say, I remember when I lost my hair, people say, oh my God, you're losing your hair. I'm so sorry. It's like I lost my comb, my brush, my shampoo, my conditioner, and I'm glad. But you've been helping dentists advertise. You helped me advertise. I had dinner with you in Phoenix. How many years ago was that? 4 or 5 years ago?
Probably about 2 or 3, maybe.
And was it 2 or 3 years ago? And you were come out, and it was like all the movers and shakers in my backyard were there. You've been helping everybody in so many states, but doing this 2 decades, where was dentistry 2 decades ago? Where it is now? What would you say is the state of dentistry right now? Kind of like if you had to give a state of the dental union address, what is it looking like to you after 2 decades of helping dentists in 50 states?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, looking at where it was when I started 21, 22 years ago, back when I was working for Travis McPhee, Dr. McPhee here in Salem, dentistry was still finding its legs with the marketing. I mean, there were still doctors getting slapped with board actions for running a Yellow Page ad. I mean, that was going on up until probably 10 years ago. So dentistry was just sort of beginning to explore and understand marketing and driving patients into a practice through direct response marketing, or just starting to understand the impact that branding can have, and running. And I think it's sort of the birthing of the running a practice like a business and not as a profession. Interestingly enough, I just read an article in Dental Economics where a CPA said in his article to both young and not so young dentists that they didn't have a business, they had a profession. And I think he's wrong. I'm calling him out on that because I think he's misunderstanding the responsibility that dentists have to run a practice. I mean, it is a business, and you know it, and I know it. You wrote a book on the business of dentistry. So to me, I mean, seeing where it's come and where it's going, I think right now we saw the golden age 10, 15 years ago of dentistry. I think now we're in the platinum era. I mean, it's just the opportunities that are out there now are just phenomenal. But they're for the doctors that want to run their practice like a business. If they're just going to put their head in the sand and hope to hang a shingle out, it's going to be a long, hard slog, and they're going to find themselves bankrupt. But for the docs that want to run it like a business and preserve the integrity of solid clinical care, the best clinical care, and preserve that, those are the ones that I see really having a great amount of success in the coming decade. I mean, that's really where it's going. You got to run it like a business, treat it like a business. You have to understand leadership. You have to be someone that can develop your team, and you have to be intolerant of people that take away from that.
Podcast people are mostly younger. I mean, it seems like whenever I get an email, howard@dentaltown.com, from a fan of the show, you know, they're usually 30 and under. They're worried they're coming out of school $350,000 in debt. And a lot of times they just say, was this a good move? I mean, did I mess up investing $350,000 and becoming a doctor? What would you say right now, yesterday, today's Monday, last Friday, 56 dental schools dumped out 5,000 kids. What would you say to those 5,000 kids if you were given the commencement speech or the whatever? Would you say that was a good idea to become a dentist in 2016?
I'm actually encouraging my oldest daughter. She's 17. She's going to be a senior in high school. She's so intelligent, and she's so motivated. She's one of the only kids in her class that has a job. As a sophomore in high school, she had a job. She's one of those kids that's, I think, kind of rare. My other daughter's shaping up to be the same way.
Can you fix her up with my youngest son?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's talk.
He needs a woman like that.
She's amazing. I mean, she's amazing. I would love to see her get into dentistry, but I told her, look, you don't want to be saddled coming out of dental school with $300,000 or $400,000 in debt. It's a rough way to start a life with a mortgage payment without a house. I mean, that's what you've got. And so, well, I'll give you an example. Just today I interviewed a real nice young man, a captain in the U.S. Army. By the way, Captain Levi, thank you for your service if you're listening to this. But he was interviewing for a job, for a position in my dental office here in Salem. And he has no debt. So his biggest concern right now is how am I going to cover my moving expense from Louisiana to Oregon? And I'm like, hey, that's, thank goodness you don't have $3,000 or $4,000 a month you're going to be paying out. My heart goes out to those guys, and here's what I tell them. Retire that debt as fast as possible. Delay as much extracurricular investment as possible, and retire your debt. Get a smoking practice, work your ass off, and take no prisoners. I mean, that's what I tell them, because the only way to get out of that debt, Howard, you and I know, is to pay it off. And just like you did, just like McPhee did, just like I did with my student loans, I mean, it's just sheer hard work. And going the extra mile to learn as much as you can, not only about the clinical side, but about the business side. The clinical side can pay you a salary. If you want to be a clinical dentist and you want to work for a big chain, that's okay. There's a need for that, and I think that's an okay career path. But that income opportunity taps out at some point. So if you don't, unless you are willing to go to the business side, to that dark side of dentistry, you're going to be shackled with that debt for a heck of a lot longer. So, I mean, take the guy that has his own practice that's making $300,000 or $400,000 a year, a couple years out of school, versus the guy that's working for Aspen or Heartland or one of the other big chains, which, again, is fine. I have no problem with those folks. But they're going to be capped at 120, 160, maybe 180, and if they're a real go-getter, maybe $250,000 a year. Well, retiring that debt as an employee is damn difficult versus retiring that debt as a business owner with maybe 1, 2, 3 practices. I mean, that debt becomes irrelevant really quick. So I would tell those guys just graduating, bust your ass, delay the vacations, don't buy a nice car. Let's take, for example, Sean Tarpenning, my partner in the franchise. Sean could go buy any
Sean
vehicle.
who?
Tarpenning.
Spell last name.
Tarpenning.
That's the dentist?
Yep.
Okay.
So you take Sean. Sean's driving a 20-year-old Honda Civic. And Sean could go buy any car on any car lot and pay cash 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 times over. But Sean prioritized what was important to him. Has a family. He's got a low-cost home. He's got a practice that's cranking out, and it's just a cash machine. So my heart goes out to these guys and gals that are not pointed in the right direction for management of debt and management of income, and seeking the opportunity where they have sort of an unlimited amount of money they can earn. So they have to position themselves early to get to that point sooner rather than later. And again, there's nothing wrong with...
Is he in Wisconsin, Dr. Turpenny?
Yes, yeah, Eau Claire.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, abeardental.com, that's his website.
So let's talk about another thing. So, 25 years ago, when we met, the insurance of the day was indemnity insurance. You submit the fee, they paid a percent. 3 decades later, they submit the fee, and so that's the biggest change in dentistry. So this PPO, which now 82% of dentists take, the fees are about 40% lower. Is that the way to go? Or when you're talking to dentists and you're setting up franchises, the first question they're going to ask, if you're in any big town, is there's a dozen PPOs. What's your thoughts on that?
I might be a little unusual in this regard. I actually think the more diversified your patient base, the source of your patients, the stronger your practice is going to be in the long term and in the short term. So my take is this, and it's changed over the years. I mean, initially I was like, hey, fee for service, more power to you. But those days are gone, and to remain a fee for service dentist is a lot more difficult, and it's a lot more costly because you're spending an arm and a leg on marketing far more than a doc who has a diversified patient base, who might accept 2 or 3 PPOs, who might accept some traditional insurance, and maybe even take, oh my goodness, Medicare. I mean, ooh, you know, oh my goodness, or Medicaid. That'd be horrible, right? So I encourage docs, my clients or franchisees, to have a diversified patient pool. You don't want to rely on one kind of patient. It's dangerous. You're setting yourself up for a failure. So as far as PPOs go, that's where it comes into a couple things. I mean, once you're a part of that network for a period of time, and you become a player in your area, your community for that PPO, you have an opportunity for some of them to negotiate fees. So if you're, if you have 10 patients, they're not going to 10 patients of their insured, they're not going to negotiate with you. But if you have 1,000 or 2,000 of their patients, they're going to be interested in you being taken care of because you have such a huge pool of their patients. So there are a lot of components to that question. But for a dentist in today's marketplace to not accept PPOs, I think it's a decision that really needs to be rendered carefully, and they really need to do their homework on what they're going to do to market that practice to fee-for-service patients, because they're going to have, for every fee-for-service patient that calls, they're going to have 4 or 5 that are covered under some PPO that are calling, and and their front office person, Broomhilda, is going to say, I'm sorry, we don't take your insurance, click, and that's going to be the end of it. So, I mean, I hear those calls all the time when we listen to our calls where we're driving calls into our dental offices, and that's what happens if the doc doesn't take a PPO. So I think it's a dangerous place to be. If you are adamant about not accepting them, I wouldn't advise it. I just wouldn't. There's instances, there are unique circumstances, but there are few and far between.
What percent of America would you say is insurance driven, and what percent do you say they don't even have insurance?
Oh man, well, since half don't go to the dentist, we know that, right?
Right.
So of that half, I'm going to throw a number out there. I'm going to say 20% have some form of insurance.
So if when you're talking to your dentist in your mastermind groups and they say to you, Jerry, I just need more new patients. New patient flow equals cash flow. I need more new patients. What do you tell them? What's working in 2016?
Well, here's what I can tell you. We continue to have really strong success with offline marketing strategies. And that's one thing I'm not. I'm not an internet geek. We've got a company we refer all our clients to for the internet stuff. I stay away from it. It's not my
What
area.
do you call it? Offline what?
Offline marketing.
Offline marketing, and offline means non-internet.
You got it. Yeah.
Okay.
So here's where we're absolutely killing it in the number.
By the way, you dropped a term that flew over a lot of heads. You said direct response marketing, but you didn't define what that was. So
sure,
work that in your answer.
Yeah. So we'll define that. There's an attempt at that a lot of doctors make in branding their practice, and so they think that by putting their logo, their name, their location, and family dentistry, and we're accepting new patients, they think that is advertising, and it kind of sort of is branding, but really not even that. So it's getting the word out about their practice. That does not typically generate any phone calls unless you're in a dental area and in your area that is extremely starved for dental care. In other words, there hasn't been a dentist there in 38 years, and people are hungry for a doctor. So that will work in that case. But if you're in an area where there's any competition at all, like here in Salem, there's one dentist for about every 850 to 900 people. So the competition level is pretty high. Not nearly as high as your neighborhood, of course, but the competition level is there. So in that environment, you can't afford to send a postcard out that is branding or is not direct response oriented. And what direct response means is that when that advertising piece reaches its intended market, the message on that piece, the advertising copy on that marketing piece, is directing that person to make a phone call or visit a website. Ideally, it's to make a phone call. We don't want them getting lost in the morass of the internet and looking at 900 other doctors. We want them picking up the phone and making a phone call. So direct response means I'm going to send you a postcard, and it's going to tell you what I want you to do. It's going to direct the person's response, if you will. So what's working for us, we're having killer success still with direct mail. I mean, I've made a very good living for 20 years. I built my dental office with direct mail, so we're killing it with direct mail. And there are some pitfalls with direct mail that you can get into that you'll want to avoid. But direct mail is killing it. We're having great success with newspapers. Howard, you get your newspaper and you open it up and all this shit falls out. A bunch of ads and stuff. So a lot of docs run display ads. So those are within the pages of the newspaper. We actually will do some display ads on occasion, but we focus more on freestanding inserts, and that's the things that are stuck inside the newspaper. So they're pieces of paper, just like this.
You call them free what?
Freestanding inserts.
Freestanding inserts.
Yep. And I'll give you an example. We dropped about 10,000 pieces for a doc. I mean, it's crazy. Anywhere from 10 phone calls to 60, 70, 80 phone calls on a drop of about 10,000 to 40,000 pieces. Now, here's the beauty of these things. 10,000 sounds like a lot, and it is, but when you're running this in a newspaper, you're looking at a national average of about 10 cents a piece for printing and insertion. So 10,000 is about $1,000. We've had docs get anywhere, like I said, from 10 phone calls to 50, 60 phone calls. I run them routinely here in Salem in our local newspaper, and I mean, on 43,000 pieces inserted, we'll generate anywhere between 15 and 68 phone calls, depending on the time of year and what the ad is.
Okay, my job is to play devil's advocate and to guess the questions of all these dentists commuting to work. Okay, I'm sure a lot of young dentists saying, did he just say newspaper? Nobody gets a newspaper anymore. So what would you say to that? I mean, I bet 1,000 dentists just said a newspaper. Nobody gets a newspaper. They read it all on their iPhones. What would you say to that?
Well, here's what I say. Newspapers are dying. Yellow pages are dying, but both are still effective in a number of markets. I'll give you an example. We've been read in the worst place in the world to advertise, New York City. We ran a test for 2 different inserts for 2 different areas for 2 different doctors. Both generated phone calls on 10,000 pieces inserted, which is the minimum that you can do. We just wanted to test it. So each doctor spent about $1,000, and we generated phone calls. One doctor had 3 patients come in from it. Another doctor had 1 patient. So even in the highest competitive markets in the world, you can be successful in newspapers. So are they dying? Yes. Are they still successful in many, many markets? Absolutely. So what I'd tell you is every media should be tested, and it doesn't matter if it's something online.
And it really comes down to return on investment, because let's say you want to go digital in Manhattan. The most expensive Google ad in the entire planet is for Manhattan and a personal injury attorney. And when you click that ad, that just costs that law firm $1,200 for you to click it and read their page. So it comes down to what's not the sexiest or whatever. It comes down to the money, doesn't it? I mean, do you want to pay a $1,200 click one time Google ad for Manhattan personal injury, or do you want to put something in a newspaper?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I mean, we base our decisions in every business that I run and own, we base our decisions on ROI when it comes to marketing. It's got to generate an ROI or we're not going to do it. So in every media, you got to test. Every newspaper is a test. So we have another newspaper here locally. It's a senior focused newspaper. It's called Senior Boomer News. It's extremely successful. Low circulation numbers, maybe 10 to 17,000 pieces where we are wanting to market. But we'll throw an ad in there for dentures, and it's a piece of paper like this, 2-sided, and it's an ad for dentures, denture consult. I mean, that ad that I've been running in that newspaper has generated over $350,000 worth of dentures in the last 7-8 years. So it's all ROI. Everything is ROI, whether you're online or you're offline. Every media's got to be tested, and you better be ready to throw more money at it or pull the plug, depending on what your ROI is.
Okay, here's the biggest problem I think you face, okay? A dentist goes to school, and their entire life, they're told how smart they are because they're the ones who got the A's in trig and geometry and physics, and they're always told how smart they are. So when they get out of school, they're so smart, they're going to write their own ad because they're a doctor of everything. Everyone's told them how smart they are, and who the hell are you to write an ad? I'm a doctor. You're a cretin, and you actually test materials, and you don't go with stuff that Jerry Jones personally likes the art. You go with stuff that's tested and works. These doctors don't get that. They think, I'm the smartest person I know. I'll write this ad. What do you think of the average ad that a doctor of know-it-all everything writes and has never been tested and then commits to mailing it to everyone in his town and mails it to everyone in his town several times before it even dawns on him that maybe he's not the smartest advertising agent in the universe?
When a doc tells me they want to do that, I just say, why don't we shortcut the process, send me the total amount on a check that you're going to spend in this, and then we'll just call it good because the results are going to be the same. Here's the other thing we do, and I love.
And let me. I don't want to interrupt, but I want to say this. Sometimes what works isn't what you think is the nicest, the fanciest, the most well written. Sometimes what works is just like I know a dentist in a very small town in Florida who's ran this one little ad that just said, got dentures and his phone number. And he says, it's a stupid ad, but
Right.
he runs it because the paper comes out once a week and it always gets him a denture every week. And he's like, I can't do anything to it because it works. Am I proud of it? Does it have my logo? Is it sexy? It just works.
Right.
And that's what testing does.
That's it.
Which they never do.
No, they don't. And so what we do, and we have a doctor that, I just dealt with one in Dallas. He was insistent about running his implant seminar ad and not wanting to run ours, which he'd paid for. And I said, well, look, why don't we do this? Let's just test. We're going to run yours at the same time, and we're going to run mine at the same time to the same areas, not overlapping, but in different areas, same community. And we'll put a tracking number on both, and whichever one has the most phone calls, we'll call the winner. But we'll go one further. We'll go one step further. Whichever one produces the best ROI is the real winner. Well, typically the one that generates the most phone calls is going to generate the best ROI because you have more of an opportunity. You have more people to see, more butts in the seat. So I love doing those, and 9 times out of 10 I'm winning. Occasionally I'm surprised, and that's why we test. Even though I've been doing this for 21, 22 years, I'm still surprised on occasion on what works. 7, 8 years ago, we hit on a real interesting design that was kind of accidental. One of my designers and I were talking about maybe we ought to just change things up completely and go retro. So 7, 8 years ago, we said, hey, let's create a design that looks like it's from the 1950s, something that J. Walter Thompson would be all excited about, something that one of those madmen from the 50s and 60s would just love. And so we created a very heavy copy, which means there's a lot of words on the paper, and used retro art from the 1950s on these ads. The first time I ran that, we dropped 43,000 of them right here in Salem. So I put my own money on the line. I tested it at my dental office here in Salem. We generated 68 phone calls in one day, and we broke our phone system. I thought it was a fluke, so we ran it again. The next time we had 53 new patients or 54 new patients, and we broke the phone system again. And the reason why it broke is quite simple. We just log jammed it. I mean, too many people calling at once. I would challenge anybody that's listening to this podcast or watching it. How many new patients have you gotten a day? What's the record from an advertising piece? And by the way, the cost to run that was about $1,300. So, that's the power of testing, and from doing what you maybe don't want to do because it's ugly, it doesn't represent you or your team or your beautiful $2 million Taj Mahal. My office is really simple. We have kind of a bread and butter office here in Salem. It's nicely appointed on the inside. The outside is 1970s dental office. It screams 1970s dental office. We're in the middle of a nice little suburban area in South Salem here. We kick ass. But
So you own a dental office?
Yeah.
But you're not a dentist?
No.
So explain that.
Pretty simple. The state of Oregon has a very specific law how they define what a dental practice is. A dental practice in the state of Oregon is defined as the patient charts. So our doctors that work with us, that affiliate with us at my office, Wellness Springs Dental of Salem, they own the patient charts. They control 100% of the clinical care, and my company supports them through all the staff, the advertising, the business management, hygiene, all that stuff. So the doctors control 100% of the clinical care. They have 100% clinical autonomy, and they own the charts.
Is that how your franchise works too?
No, actually it's not. Our franchise, so let's say, Howard, you converted today's dental over to a Wellness Springs dental franchise. You'd pay an initial franchise fee, and then you'd pay royalties each month based on collections. Your practice, the interior may need to get remodeled, it may not, depending on what it looks like, but you're going to conform your practice to our brand standards. But you don't sell your practice to us. We don't buy it from you. You maintain 100% ownership of your practice and 100% clinical autonomy. Basically, we come in and just convert it over to a Wellness Springs dental office and our brand standards. And then the franchise support kicks into play. So, and that ranges, like I said, from, it covers everything that is not clinical.
And what practice management information system do you run it on?
We're going to be running it on Dentrix Enterprise.
And why did you go with Dentrix Enterprise when you live up the street from Open Dental?
Dental?
Where is Open Dental from you?
It literally is about 2 miles.
Are you friends with all those guys?
Don't know them. Don't know them. I know of them. But we looked at a lot of factors when we were considering that, and one of them is the big thing is it's set up for what we need from the software and what information we can push out. It has the same high-level customization that Open Dental has because it is an open source platform, unlike regular Dentrix. So it's got the power we need, the scalability that we need, and the horsepower.
So when you're marketing dentistry, or something, you know, I guess I'm asking this. These dentists get out of school, and dental school just takes you from zero to you have a license. And I'm trying to get to what's a return on investment for them to learn. I mean, you hear people saying you're going to make money in return on investment with Invisalign, or placing implants, or sleep apnea, or cosmetic dentistry, or what in direct mail. What do you think's hot and what do you think's not?
Well, let me answer your return question first. Anytime that you spend money in your practice, anytime you invest money, we look for a rapid return. So when we talk about advertising as an example, what I tell our clients is you should look for a 2-to-1 ROI or better in the first 30 days. So if you spend $1,000 in the first 30 days, you're going to want to see $2,000 coming back in collections. Not production, because we don't give a rat's rear end about production. You can't spend it, you can't bank it, so let's not worry about it. Let's just talk collections. So you want a 2-to-1 ROI in the first 30 days. So if you extrapolate that out over a year, your ROI is going to be just absolutely off the charts. So, you know, you look at value per new patient. Some offices it's $1,000, some it's $1,500, some it's $4,500. It all depends on the kind of dentistry they do and how they're doing it. So we look at a 2-to-1 on marketing. When I look at some technology, so let's say, for example, CEREC. I had this conversation here just recently with a doctor. He's like, hey, I'm really considering investing in CEREC. I said, fantastic. Technology is great, but what is your plan, A, to pay for it, and B, to get your money back? How are you going to do that? Well, I'm going to lease it, or I'm going to take a loan out on it. And I asked him, so you don't have the cash? He goes, no. I go, so why are you going to go spend 6 figures, or maybe it's only high fives now. I don't know. I haven't priced one recently. Why are you going to go and do that without a plan and without the ability to pay cash for it? And if you are going to lease it, what's your plan to pay it back? Because you're going to have a $3,000 a month lease payment, $2,000 lease payment. And then the next question you need to ask is, who's running that damn thing when you're in somebody's mouth? Are you gonna lower your billables per hour from $500,000-$600,000 an hour down to $100 an hour as a lab tech when you're running that thing? So who in your office are you going to train, and who's going to train somebody else to train them when that person leaves? So there's all these. It's a complex decision. It isn't just, hey, I want the technology, let's go get it. So then you have to have a plan for how am I going to maximize that expenditure? What am I going to do to maximize my ROI? So am I going to market it? Who am I going to market it to? How am I going to market it? How much money am I going to invest in it? So you get docs that will go out and spend 6 figures, but they'll come back to their dental office and not want to spend $10,000 to market it. So to me, there's a disconnect in that their thinking is, oh, the technology is going to solve my problem. I don't need to, it'll sell itself. I don't need to do anything to market it. Or I just need to do 2 more crowns a month than I'm doing now and I'll pay for it. Well, when you dive into the math, it's probably more like 10 crowns or 15 crowns a month to pay for it or to have it make sense. So diving in and really investigating what it's going to take to get your ROI is really critical on any piece of equipment and really on anything you're doing in your practice.
But when you're marketing, I mean, is same-day crowns, is that what the customer's looking for? Are they looking for, what are they really looking for? The same-day crowns, like, oh my God, I can get my crown in one day. Is that the deal? Is it, I want a dentist with a laser? Is it, I want a dentist that treats snoring. Is it emergency? Is it 24 hours? Is it low cost? What is there any marketing messages that you think touch more buttons than other messages?
Yeah, I think there's one that's central that goes beyond same-day crowns. It goes beyond emergency service. I mean, maybe not emergencies because they don't really care about much. They just know they're in pain. But I think every marketing message that's out there absolutely has to address two things. One, the fear, and two, the cost. If you don't address fear and you don't address cost, they're going to be really reluctant to reach out to you. So I'll give you an example. You know, some docs will call me and say, hey, we want to market our CERT machine, same-day crowns. And I said, have you ever gone out and stood on a street corner and asked how many people know what a crown is? You're going to get answers that are going to blow your mind. Now, cap, now if you're down south and you use the word cap, or back east somewhere, you know, and use the word cap, there's more people that are going to know what a cap is instead of a crown.
See, I'm from Kansas. They say, what's a tooth?
Right. I mean, it's the original cosmetic dentistry capital. So to me, you have to make sure that you take yourself out of the equation when you're marketing. You're not your customer. You don't know what's in their head. You don't know what they're thinking about. So here's what they know. I don't have insurance, or I do have insurance. It's going to hurt, and it's going to cost a lot. So if you don't address those things, especially the latter two, in your marketing, you're not going to generate the calls you should. So in our marketing, every direct mail piece, every freestanding insert, every display ad that we have, even on our website, we have language that addresses advertising copy that addresses those two components. So you've got to have it.
Well, that's what I don't understand about the whole same-day crown. I mean, I've been doing this 3 decades. If I said, if you came in and I said, hey, Jerry, you need a crown, half the responses are going to be, well, how much is it? How much does it cost? I don't get paid till Friday. Do you take my insurance? It's all money, 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 money. Right. Then after that, then it goes to fear, just like you say. Well, is it going to hurt? Am I going to get a shock? Can you knock me out? Can you give him whatever Prince was on? Yeah, you know, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you can go a decade without someone saying, well, you know what really I'm most concerned about? I want to get that crown done today. I don't want to have to come back. I mean, that's a once a decade response.
Right.
And they're willing to run out and spend 150 grand on that response. So you say it's fear and cost.
Yep.
So then what are your and I just want to say one last time, especially to the young, the old people. You know, I'm sure they got this, but he just said, and I hope it didn't fly over your head. You're not writing an ad to you. You're not your market. You're a doctor of dentistry. You have 8 years of college. You speak 5,000 words of Latin and Greek. You're the last person on earth who should write an ad. You don't even know how your customers think because you've been trained 8 years in something, and you would have to delete all of that shit out of your head before you could even connect to a consumer. Would you agree with that?
100%.
And they don't get it because everyone tells them, oh my God, you're so smart. When they walk down to the graduation, I go to these graduations, the moms and dads are crying, you know, they're bawling. My baby's a doctor. And then you want that doctor to write an ad and connect to the average American? I mean, just think dumber and dumber after they've drank a 12-pack. And you've got to, you know, like you're talking about, you know, a full coverage restoration. They'll say veneers. No one even knows what a veneer is.
Right.
I mean, it's just crazy. Do you think dentistry is when you're advertising, do you think dentistry is just a commodity? I mean, like if I got you know, I'm on one prescription medication, I'm on thyroid. Hell, I don't care if it's Walgreens or CVC. I don't care if I'm in Paris, France, and it's an ATM machine. Is dentistry like Walgreens? Is it just a commodity? A crown's a crown's a crown, a cap's a cap. I'm just going to go to the McDonald's and get a cap.
It's headed that way, unfortunately. And the big chains really are doing themselves a disservice, and they don't really know it, based on their advertising strategies and based on their, I think, real lack of understanding of what constitutes a relationship between a dentist and a patient. Not a physician and a patient, but a dentist and a patient. To me, I mean, solo practice is in trouble. There's no question, and it's because of the market forces that we have. I wrote a whole paper on the darn thing, on all this. It's called The State of Dentistry. It's you can get the paper at thestateofdentistry.com. I just released the 2016 update for it.
Why don't you post that on Dentaltown?
I'd love to. I will.
Why don't you start a thread? What should my homies look for the thread under? Practice management or marketing? Or there's 50 categories.
What do you think would be the best one for that, Howard? I'll ask you.
God, I would say practice management.
All right.
Yeah, go to practice management. There's yeah, put under there.
All right, I'll
That'd be a
post it.
great discussion.
You got it. So
And post out there that Howard told you to post it, so don't think you're in there, trying to fish for marketing or leads or whatever. Say,
all right, I'll make a note.
say my good-looking bald brother Howie asked you to post this on there.
Got it. All right.
And that's on the website, thestateofdentistry.com.
Yep, they can just go there and opt in, and I'll mail them a copy. There's no charge for it. And I've done 3 revisions to this, so we're in the 3rd iteration of the state of dentistry. So there's a way to decommoditize or to kind of opt out of this process, if you will. So if you're in a town with an Aspen and with a Heartland Dental and and some of the other big chains, and again, I have no axe to grind with those folks. They all serve a need in our communities, and I don't have a problem with them. But for the solo GP that this industry's back was built on, that wants to opt out of the forces that are beating them up, you can do this, and it's really about going back to the basics of business. And I mean, I have a formula that I borrow from a friend of mine, Matt Zagula. He calls it the ACE formula. So it's establishing authority, that's the A. C is celebrity, and E is exclusivity. So by focusing on marketing and activities, public relations, supporting your community, writing a book, being seen as someone that's interesting. So if you look at the Kardashian phenomenon, those women know nothing except they know how to publicize themselves. They're phenomenal at being interesting, and that's what that whole thing is all about. Is they're interesting, so people tune in to see what the family is doing. So a dentist can replicate that on a local level using that formula, using the ACE formula. And by the way, I did a presentation for Dr. Chris Griffin. 3-Day Dentist Dr. Chris.
Right. And he puts his podcast on Dental Town.
Yeah, and it's a phenomenal podcast. Chris is one sharp doctor. He's also a sharp marketer. He had me speak at his event last August, and I did 60 minutes on decommoditizing dentistry, how to fight big chains and win. Which, by the way, anybody that wants to email me, I'll send you a copy of the DVD and CD. So Jerry at jerryjonesdirect.com. Email me, tell me you want a copy, give me your address, and I'll ship you a copy.
Now you're also the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I have significant cosmetic surgery, hair reduction.
How is it to have the same name as the founder of the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones?
It's just the damnedest thing. It does work well in Dallas. I'll tell you, when I go down there and someone calls to make a reservation for me at a restaurant, I do get the best seat.
So if they send you an email, Jerry with a J, Jerry at jerryjonesdirect.com, what are you going to send them?
I'm going to send them a CD and DVD combination program. It's 60 minutes on decommoditizing dentistry.
For free.
Yep, for free.
Gosh, this podcast is amazing.
Isn't it?
Gosh darn, it's a free podcast. They get a free DVD. How cool is that?
I love it.
So what's on this program, decommoditizing dentistry?
So I go into depth on the ACE principle, on those 3 components, the authority, celebrity, and exclusivity. I give specific examples, one of which is become an author, become a published author. It's really easy. It's really cheap. There's actually folks out there that ghostwrite books for dentists, and they do a phenomenal job, so you don't have to, go through that mind-numbing process of writing a book. You know how hard that is. I've written 4 books. I've got the 4th one just coming out, as a matter of fact. But books are phenomenal at positioning. So I've got a doctor in Munster, Indiana, Dr. Andy Coulteritis. He's been a client of mine for almost 20 years. How he's put up with me that long, I have no idea. But he wrote a book, and so in every display ad, every postcard that we mail about 2,500 to 3,000 postcards a month for him, and we've been doing it for years. And we run ads in a senior boomer type newspaper that's target market is seniors. In the ad and on the postcards, we're always talking about his book because he's the only dentist in Indiana that probably has a book. And so we brag about the fact that when they call to make an appointment or they call for a consultation or a free second opinion, they're going to get a copy of his book at no charge. And his book is essentially a barrier remover. It goes into, here's why it's not going to hurt. Here's what a crown is. Here's what Invisalign is. Here's how we can put in an implant. It goes into all of these facets of dentistry in lay language, in layman's terms. It doesn't have a word of Latin in it. So having this book positions him completely differently than every other dentist running an ad, every other dentist sending a postcard, every other dentist on the internet. He's got a real book. So Mary, Johnny, Susie, whoever can call his office and say, hey, can I get a copy of the book sent to me? Absolutely. Let me get your name and address and phone number and email address, and we'll be happy to send you a copy of the book. What's he just done? He's created a lead, someone that reads, which is really important, so they're educated, and somebody that wants knowledge and information about dentistry. Who's your ideal patient, Howard? Someone that reads, has some intelligence, and wants information about dentistry so they can be sold dentistry, so they can make informed decisions about dental care. So that's what this book does. And I've got numerous examples of my members and clients that have books and how they use them. I mean, they're just a phenomenal tool.
What did he write his book on? I mean, as a dentist, what would you write on? If you're a pediatric dentist, you write about how you love kids, or if you're an implant dentist, you know, what did he write it on?
The title of the book is called Your Smile Matters. So really, the book positions the importance of oral health, number one. So it's a little bit of here's why your dentist tells you to brush and floss every day. So there's a little bit of that. Here's what periodontal disease is and why you want to avoid it, and why 50% of Americans suffer from it and they don't know it. If you're missing a tooth or you're wearing dentures, here's the benefit of implants. So he doesn't go into the technical aspects of how he places an implant. He talks about the benefits of an implant. He talks about the benefits of securing dentures with an all-on-4 system. He talks about the benefits of having straight teeth and what that can do for your bite, because he also does ortho. So in his book, he essentially has a mini 3 or 4 page layman's terms educational process of each thing he does in his office. And the best books, by the way, and I have another doctor that did this, have testimonials of real patients with photos, not the photo like this, not that photo, but a smiling full-face photo of the patient, their name, their occupation, and their age. So what that does is people that are reading the book get to self-identify with some of these people that are in the book. I have a dentist, and he retired last year, and he was able to retire because he really did well financially in dentistry. Bellingham, Washington. He wrote a book that was nothing but testimonials. Every chapter was a story of one of his patients and the procedures that he went through to get that patient back to optimum health. So it's a book of stories. And when you look at the power of story, is there anything more powerful that you can do to convey a message other than tell a story? There isn't. Storytelling starts from age 0, and we're conditioned to listen and learn from stories. So it's a phenomenal way to educate and convert. And what these docs are finding is that just a book alone, in their marketing efforts, coupled with all the other things they're doing, eliminates fee resistance. It reduces the amount of time they have to spend educating a patient because they've got something in advance. They're showing up pre-primed and ready to go. They're showing up educated.
I love your website, jerryjonesdirect.com. You have so much content on there, but you just said you just wrote your 4th book. Go through your 4 books. Are they all on Amazon, or where how do you get your books?
2 of them are on Amazon. Actually, 3 of them are on Amazon. The 4th one is just coming out this week. And if you go to JJD Books, so JJD stands for Jerry Jones Direct, jjdbooks.com, you'll see the 3 books that are available right now. And then the 4th one comes out. It's been proofed and all done, and we're just waiting for the printing process to start. So
okay, well go through book 1, 2, and 3.
Sure. So book 1 is 24 mistakes dentists make, doctors make to destroy their practices and destroy their business. I'm going to pull this up here because it's been a while since I've looked at these books.
And by the way, for the record, I only made 23 of them.
Oh, well, those...
I did not make the 24th mistake.
That's good. Those are all my mistakes I made. They all apply to dentistry, and I made a lot of them in the process of opening a practice. And the book is a short read. It's only probably 70 or 80 pages. It's a very fast read, but it's really to the point. There's not a lot of fluff in it. It's just hard-hitting content about what you shouldn't do, and if you've done them, what you should do to solve the problems. The second book that's on that website is the Peak Productivity and Time Management book. My position on this really is that time is a dictatorship. I mean, you only have so many minutes in a day, so many hours in a day, And if you're not using everyone to, the best of your ability and sucking every bit of opportunity out of them, you're losing it. I mean, like when we started this conversation, I said, hey, we got to hustle because we're all dying here. You and I are now closer to our expired date, as Mike Abernathy says, than our born-on date. So it's important we maximize our time use. So that book is how I run my life, how I run my businesses. I've got 4 companies. I've got a ton of employees, and I work from home, and I have a lot of time freedom, but it's because of structure and the strategies I share in that book. The next book is Time-Tested Secrets to Attract New Patients and Retain Your Existing Patients. This was a book I did with 8 other authors. Each of the 8 took a chapter, and it's a phenomenal book that covers really A to Z marketing your practice in a ton of different ways you can do it. One of the co-authors, and they're just passed away, it's unfortunate, Fred Katona. Fred was very well known for some huge successes, one of which was Priceline.com. He put Priceline.com on the map. I mean, before Shatner, when they were running radio ads with Shatner, that's Fred Katona's work. So Fred's one of the co-authors, and he just passed away this past week and was a really great guy. So,
how old was he?
Late 50s. Late 50s.
Wow, that's early.
Car accident.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not.
And William Shatner, that's got to be the hardest working Canadian. I mean, that guy he doesn't slow down. How old do you think Shatner is?
I think he's almost 80.
And what's so amazing is you take a guy like that, he's got more money than we could count, and he's 80 years old, and he still works all day, every day.
Yep. I was just reading about James Patterson. I mean, James Patterson is the most successful author of our time. He's worth $490 million, and the guy still works 7 days a week. He's up at 5:30 a.m. There was a special on him on CBS Sunday, just this past Sunday. But that guy is really phenomenal, and he's 69 years old. He doesn't need to work. He's worth $490 million, but he can't stop. He loves what he does.
Yeah. So So then, what's your new book going to be on, and when is that going to be online?
The new book comes out. It should be online. I'm going to guess probably in about 10 days. In that book, what I did, I took a different approach with this new book. So I've interviewed, like you have on your podcast, I haven't interviewed nearly as many as you have, but I've interviewed probably about 200 doctors and business folks over the last couple of years, 10, 15 years, I guess. And some of the best interviews I had transcribed, and I had them turned into book chapters. And this is an easy way to write a book, by the way. So I had all those audios transcribed, turned into book chapters, and then I went and I edited, added to where I needed to add to kind of give some depth and explain. And so that book is me, folks like Mike Abernathy, Jamie Amos, who has Ideal Practices. Jamie was on your podcast not long ago. So I've got some really interesting folks who are not really co-authors, but they are. They participated with me in an audio interview, and we just transcribed it and turned it into a fascinating book.
Now, are those on iTunes?
No, not yet.
So you haven't put them in podcast format?
No.
You can upload those for free, those sound files on Dentaltown.
Yeah. I think we have uploaded a few. I think one of our team members has uploaded a couple on Dentaltown.
What's it called?
The podcast on Dentaltown?
Yeah.
I have no idea. It'll be under Jerry Jones Direct, probably.
Ryan, is it on there? Huh, okay.
Is it?
I don't know, but
I don't either.
everybody that's uploaded their podcast on Dentaltown has told me their shows exploded on both Dentaltown and iTunes. I mean, there's 217,000 dentists on Dentaltown. 50,000 have downloaded the app, and another 1,000 every month download the app. So when you go to when you put it on Dentaltown, it's kind of like your free marketing.
Yeah.
So then, if after they listen to the first show, if they want to follow that on iTunes or Dentaltown, I mean, every dentist is different. But
well, we'll get it up on there.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. So what else do you want to tell them about being successful? I mean, I've only got you for 5 more minutes. What would your close be? I know. I want you to close with this. Some of them are coming out of school and want to know, what do I do? And some of them are already doing it and saying, I need a shot of adrenaline, which most of them think the magic bullet is, if I could just get 10 more new patients a month, it's kind of like they'll say, well, you know what, my overhead's high and I'm not where I want to be. And the fastest way dentists think they could solve that problem is 10 more new patients a month. not learn how to place implants or not learn how to get a CBCT or learn sleep apnea or go do Invisalign or none of that stuff. They just want to do what they're doing on 10 more people a month. What would your close be on that? I mean, you have so many websites, I can't keep up with you. You got ClearPath Society, Jerry Jones Direct, WellspringsDental.com, JJDBooks.com, TheStateOfDentistry.com. Close with this. Jerry, look, dude, I just need 10 more new patients a month.
Before we did that, Howard, you know what I'd tell you? I'd tell you to go back and get the easiest patients there are to get. Let's go mine your existing patient files, send a letter and a postcard to all your patients who have undone treatment or who have not been in your practice in the last 12 or 13 months. Let's start there for some really easy money. So let's go get those people back in the door who are due for recare or who have just totally spaced getting treatment done. Let's go there. Let's take the profits from those patients that come back to see you, and then let's leverage that into a long-term marketing campaign, starting with some direct mail and some ads in the newspaper, whether they're freestanding inserts or display ads. So let's take some capital that's held captive right now in your practice and get it out. And then let's take that money. So you're playing with house money. You're not writing a check out of your own pocket, so to speak, right? And then let's get on and get some of that stuff going. So start with some direct mail.
But do you do that for them? You go buying their existing. Yeah. So what do? You log into their practice management software, or how does the logistics of that work? And how do they contact you? Which website do they go to do this?
So for the undone treatment or the inactive patients they want to reactivate, I mean, that's just a simple export. They can run a report in Dentrix or any of those, or Eaglesoft, any of those programs. There's instructions in the manual or their helpline. I'll tell them how to run a report and export those names, and from there we can take it for them. I mean, we're just going to send them a letter that we've sent to hundreds of thousands of patients to make them call that office back and get that appointment started. Where would I start? I go to ClearPathSociety.com. Investigate whether that might be something that you want to invest in. ClearPath Society is our membership. It's what all of our clients are a part of. Every client we have is a ClearPath Society member. So you start there, and with that membership comes a ton of resources. And here's the cool thing, Howard. I'm not putting out material for our members, for my members, that has not been tested by me in my own office. And if it hasn't been tested by me, it's been tested by a member with their permission and their interest. So to me, use something that's proven, that's worked somewhere. It's better than starting from scratch. So I'd encourage them to go to ClearPathSociety.com to get started. And
I know the 40 and 50 and 60-year-old guys believe you, but I want to play devil's advocate because I know these kids, and they're looking at you saying, dude, you're an old, bald guy. The way to build a practice is posting on Facebook. What would you say to that? What would you say to the ones that say, I'm going to Facebook my way all the time. I'm going to take selfies and upload videos, and I'm going to Facebook my way to a millionaire. What would you say to that?
My face is red, not from a sunburn. That's what I'm saying. Look, I don't know of a single practitioner that's built a practice on using social media. So my caution is, good luck. And when that fails, and when you want real people calling to give you real money instead of likes on Facebook, because you can't deposit a like at the bank. First of all, your banker doesn't give a shit what you do to put money in his bank. He really doesn't. If they could take marijuana money here in Oregon, they would. They don't care what you do. So your wife really probably doesn't care what you do either. She just wants what she wants from the relationship. So my thinking is, look, don't waste your time on Facebooking, on social media. There is a component. There's a very thin slice where that's useful in a practice, but it's a very thin slice. Instead, get out and do some real marketing, interact with some real people, run some public relations campaigns, get out in your community and become a part of your community. Start supporting the schools around your practice. And if you don't have schools around your practice, move your practice because the schools aren't going anywhere. And get out and do something. Do some old-fashioned gumshoe marketing, because while we have technology and all the social media, it is not the way to build a practice on its own. I think it serves a very narrow slice. Yes, you can run ads on Facebook to drive them to your dental office website. That's fine. But to post stuff on Facebook and expect moms to just get all excited and lathered up and call you and make an appointment for Junior, it's just total BS. I mean, it happens so rarely that, I'd caution guys. I built my office 13 years ago. It's how old? It's a 13-year-old office. I built it using direct mail, postcards, freestanding inserts, public relation campaigns, patient events, all those old school things. They work. And the better The more your patients can see you're real and reachable, the more they're going to want to be around you, the more they're going to want to be a patient. Don't hide behind social media and posts. I mean, that's my advice, Howard.
You know what? It's funny. You just reminded me. You almost made me sad. My dad died 16 years ago. I'll never. I got to tell the story. When I set up my office, I got out May 11th. I got my office open September 21, 1987. Finally got it open on a Thursday. All excited. Went in there my first day, and nothing happened. Not phone didn't ring. No one came in. I sat there all day. And I was like, wow. And then I thought, well, tomorrow is going to be a good day because it's going to be Friday. And almost every dentist is closed on Friday. And I went out there Friday and nothing happened. And I mean, I was 24 years old. I graduated $87,000 in student loans, which would be $187,000 a day in real and constant dollars. I borrowed $150,000 from the Valley National Bank, which got turned into Bank One, which is now Chase Bank. And Thursday, Friday, nothing. And I called my dad, and my tail was between my legs, and I just said, Dad, I'm scared. And he said, are you? And he's all happy. He's like, are you? And I go, yeah, I'm real scared. He goes, that's good. He goes, if you show me 5 hungry coyotes, someone's going to get eaten. He said, now you get up there Saturday morning, and you get out there like you're running for mayor. And you just get out there and you just walk door to door and you knock on the door and you say, I'm Howard Fran. I'm the dentist up by Safeway. I'm going to be here 40 years. I just wanted to get to know you. So I got it Saturday morning and I got a backpack filled with, I had my toothbrushes with my name and number and I had my flyers, whatever. And I would just knock on the door and I took an appointment book. And about every third door, some man would be standing there in a t-shirt and underwear showing me his tooth. And I'd be saying, well, you need to come in. And he's like, well, when do you want me to come in? And I'd pull out my appointment book and I said, well, I have 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week opening till the end of time. And by the end of that Saturday, I'd be fully booked by next Monday. And my dad was just like you saying. He says, you got to get out there and run for mayor. You got to go to the schools. You got to go meet the city councilman. You got to join the Kiwanis, the rodeos. Just get out there like you're running for mayor. And today they just think, well, if I just post selfies on Facebook, and I get a bunch of likes, and I set out a tweet or a Twitter, and that's not what it is. And the other thing they do is all the Kool-Aid out there is, oh, well, you got to buy a laser. You got to treat sleep apnea. You got to learn how to surgically place implants. You need same-day crowns. You need to learn ortho. All this. All the millionaires I know, they don't do any of that stuff. They just have a family practice. They refer out all that crap, and they just have a big old practice doing cleaning exams, x-rays, crowns, and they collect $1 million, take home $350, and everyone at the top doesn't do everything that the whole hype world is telling you to do. Just down old-fashioned, get out there, run for mayor, stand behind your work, refund their money, don't make enemies. If you make a denture and grandma wants her money back, it's grandma.
Give it to her.
She may be batshit crazy, but you made the denture and she don't like it. Refund it, give it back. Just get out there like you're running for mayor. It's all the old-fashioned stuff that works, isn't it?
It is, and that's we all get caught up in this this technology, the love of new technology. And I just read something the other day. The richest people in the entire world say no more often than they say yes.
That's Warren Buffett's favorite mantra. I went to Creighton.
As a matter of fact, it was on Forbes, and it was Warren Buffett. That's right, it was on Forbes.
I went to Creighton in 1980, and I'm so old. That was when nobody knew who Warren Buffett was, and the head of the business school could get Warren to come over to Creighton Business and talk to us idiots. And he was such an amazing guy, but that's what he always said. He says, successful people say no, but the most successful people say no the most. They say no to almost everything, and that's why they're at the very top. You got to learn how to say no, and we live in a society where everybody drinks the Kim Kardashian Kool-Aid, and a fool and their money will soon be parted, and the next thing you know, they're $1 million in debt, and they're coming back saying, what?
Yep.
Yeah, so, hey, I want you to do me a favor.
Go for it.
You're 2 miles from Jordan Sparks, who's got to be one of the coolest dentists in the world. I want you to just go shake his hand and meet him and talk to him. He won't do the podcast show because he's shy as there is. I mean, he just thinks that'd be the most frightening thing in the world to get out here and talk to me for an hour. His brother, Jordan's a dentist that started it, Open Dental, and his brother Nathan runs the company. But go meet Jordan. He's got to be one of the coolest dudes in the world. and he's just so damn cool. Open Dental's cool, and that'll be a friend of yours for life. I know, Will, because I know both of you guys, and if you live 2 miles up the street, you got to go to Starbucks to have a coffee.
All right, I'll do it.
Call him up and tell him that Howard said that you have to do coffee, and you got to deliver me Travis McPhee. I haven't seen that guy for a long time. I love him as much as I love you. God, that goes back a long day to Destin. But hey, Jerry, thanks for everyone. What if my homies? If they just want 10 more new patients a month of all your websites, it'd be ClearPathSociety.com.
Yep.
But they could also go to JerryJonesDirect.com.
Yep.
They could buy your books at JJDBooks.com.
Yep.
And they can read thestateofdentistry.com, which you're going to post that under practice management.
That's correct.
And they can email you, Jerry, at jerryjonesdirect.com. And I can assure you, Jerry will never steer you wrong. I've been referring people to you for 20 years. Thank you, Jerry, for all that you do for dentistry. And thank you for being the most handsome man in dentistry.
Thanks, Howard. Good to talk to you, man.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
See you later.